Hey everyone! What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Fusion Deck User in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 331, Answering Questions for the Younger Generation is What We Should Do. Over the past few days, most of the students within the Critical Nexus dimension had successfully received the protection they needed. It wasn't that they had suddenly become strong enough to fight back against the invaders. On the whole, whether alone or in squads, students still stood no chance when facing demons. That said, thanks to the coordination of Kaiba Corp and various factions, it was relatively easy to gather and shelter everyone at designated checkpoints. And contrary to Hikaru's expectations, aside from the large-scale invasion by the Dark World on the first day, their forces seemed to encounter internal discord. For a time, they stopped attacking strongholds with concentrated force. This gave Kaiba Corp the opportunity to consolidate and move more students to safer locations. Of course, there was another concern on Hikaru's mind, the Society of Light. Under the influence of the Light of Destruction, many students were protected and subsequently chose to join the society. To be honest, if it were just gratitude leading them to join, Hikaru wouldn't have thought much of it. Though when he learned that an entire station of students had all joined the society, he knew something was off. Those students, grateful for the protection and letting their guard down, were likely much easier to brainwash. Still, Hikaru wasn't overly concerned by that. What actually irritated him were the students who, despite everything, kept sneaking out of security zones to explore on their own. There was no way he could keep rescuing these types. Over the past few days, he'd already escorted many stranded students along major routes to safety and earned plenty of cheers and praise. Yet, those who stubbornly ignored Kaiba Corp and the Academy's warnings, he simply couldn't help them all. Some of them were genuinely skilled, sure. But others, despite having no strength whatsoever, just insisted Kaiba Corp was lying and that there was no danger outside. Those were the ones who really got on Hikaru's nerves. Fortunately, when Hikaru returned to the starting point with some time to rest, he found that Selena was doing quite well. He had dashed off suddenly, only managing to leave the site in the hands of the Flame Swords Realm trio. Thankfully, Leo Akaba truly had entrusted Selena to the Fusion Club and didn't try to forcibly retrieve and imprison her again. Otherwise, Hikaru wouldn't have been able to guarantee her safety during the chaos. As for Selena, she hadn't just sat idly waiting. She'd gathered her courage and used her status to rally other students to guard the site. During this time, she even dueled and defeated a Dark World warrior. Selena was never one to sit still or rely on others for protection. Faced with danger, she would always take part. So be it, then. Hikaru spent a day resting at the station and took the time to contact Kaiba Corp. Even though things seemed to have calmed down, Kaiba Corp had no intention of restarting the GX tournament until they were certain the threat was over. Something similar happened in the original series. During the GX tournament, when a replica of the Winged Dragon of RA was stolen, the school halted the tournament until the God card was recovered. This world's GX tournament was on an even larger scale and better prepared. After all, this world had faced numerous interdimensional threats before. They always had contingencies in place. Right now, things looked far better than Hikaru initially imagined. No strongholds had been overtaken. No mass abductions of students as sacrifices. Those few who had ventured off alone and were trapped in corners of the dimension, Hikaru could only search for them gradually. As he was thinking this, he noticed something. His surroundings suddenly grew much brighter. Blinking, Hikaru looked up from his phone. A large crowd of students in white uniforms had surrounded him. He frowned. Before he could speak, some students mustered their courage and shouted, "Hey! What do you think you're doing? Trying to mess with Amaki?" Everyone had seen Hikaru's efforts. The doubts and suspicions others once had long since disappeared. As the top student of the academy who had saved hundreds of classmates, he no longer needed to speak for others to rally behind him. Even when outnumbered, even when no one knew who was right or wrong, they would stand with him on instinct. Selena looked on, her eyes twinkling. She, too, wished to earn that kind of respect from others. Her reputation had recovered somewhat over the past few days, but she was still far from where Hikaru stood. The Society of Light members ignored the surrounding students' protests. But as more people gathered, drawn by the commotion, they too started paying attention. Some wanted to support Hikaru. Others were simply bored from being stuck in the same station for nearly a week. "What do you want?" Hikaru asked curiously. "A duel," said the leader, Silver Meteor. Hikaru raised an eyebrow. "Now." Silver Meteor, huh? Not a bad opponent. What was Sartorius planning this time? Trying to tempt him into joining their group with some new dimensional secrets? Persistent, aren't they? He hadn't earned any dual energy in days. Maybe a tough opponent was just what he needed. Despite that, what surprised Hikaru was what happened next. After Silver Meteor spoke, the Society of Light members split into two lines, parting like the sea. And there, at the back of their formation, stood a man in a silver suit, silently facing Hikaru. Aster? Why? This didn't make sense. Why challenge him instead of going after Jaden? Besides, the Society of Light shouldn't be able to command Aster Phoenix. Then, just as he thought that, Tiara nudged him with an elbow. Hikaru looked again and saw something unbelievable. A strange ripple of light force was shimmering around Aster Phoenix. Hikaru's eyes widened in shock. No way. In canon, the light of destruction would never have taken over Aster Phoenix. He was the light's good side. The very hope Sartorius once clung to. Sartorius-sama has already gained the support of 1/3 of the students in this dimension, Silver Meteor suddenly said. If he wanted to, he could have them open dimensional gates and align with the demons. Hikaru shot him a glare but turned back to Aster. Aster was staring at his own right hand. Even if he couldn't see the metaphysical lock on himself, he clearly knew how bad his state was. And maybe because of that, he seemed oddly calm. Director Amaki, he said, Sartorius wants me to duel you. He says only by dueling you can I find the answer. He didn't seem to expect salvation, just someone following the path fate dictated. If you accept, then after the duel. He still had reason. Hikaru could tell right away. Unlike most who succumbed to the light force, Aster wasn't fully consumed. No need to say more, Hikaru interrupted. Helping my clubmates and juniors find clarity is what a leader should do. Come at me. He raised his left hand. His dual disc opened and began shuffling. Aster drew his deck, inserted it into his dual disc. At the same time, as always, Silver Meteor said, if you lose, you join the Society of Light and become our vice president. Princess Rose added, and if you win, we'll help you rescue ordinary students, no strings attached. Plus, we'll even. Let's save that for after. Hikaru shouted. Duel. Hikaru, LP, 4000. Aster, LP, 4000. Chapter 332, Duel of Fate. As the duel began, the students cleared a space for the two duelists. The moment their dual discs lit up and shuffled their decks, the surrounding buildings and roads began to transform automatically. Only when it came to dueling could Kaiba Corp move with such explosive efficiency. In just a matter of seconds, Hikaru and Aster were elevated onto a large platform, slightly higher than the rest of the students, allowing everyone to better view the details of the duel. Moreover, to ensure that no spectator missed anything, numerous transparent light screens lit up around the stage, displaying the two duelists from various angles. I have the first move? Then, it's my turn. I draw. Hikaru drew a card. The fact that the light of destruction had possessed Aster was something even Hikaru could hardly believe. After all, in the original story, Aster was the dark counterpart to Sartorius's personality, representing fate, a true hero. It was conceivable for anyone to be possessed by the light of destruction, but Aster had always been an exception. Through his analysis of the original and this world's state, Hikaru had roughly concluded that although Aster was sharp-tongued and opposed Jaden Yuki, he was, deep down, a hero who yearned for peace and disliked conflict. Thus, he was naturally resistant to destructive impulses. However, the facts now stood before Hikaru, forcing him to accept the truth. I activate the continuous spell card, Flame Swords Realm. Hikaru glanced at his hand and slotted the card into his duel disk. Whoa, it's the Swords Realm. It's coming. Students from the main campus immediately knew what Hikaru was planning. Some, who hadn't seen Flame Swordsman in a long time, grew visibly excited. After all, Flame Swordsman was one of Hikaru's most iconic signature cards. Hikaru looked down at his hand. Although he was surprised, he didn't let it linger. It was simple, really. More than half a year ago, while waiting for Jaden to battle the sacred beasts, Hikaru had discovered by chance that Kajimara had died unexpectedly. From then on, he realized the original story could at best be used as a reference. Relying on it entirely was a mistake. So aside from countering the fusion army, he'd been discussing the current state of the academy and world with Chaz, trying to grasp their situation as much as possible. That said, Aster and Jaden were matters Hikaru had never interfered with. Simply because, to Hikaru, that had absolutely nothing to do with him. Aster and Jaden each had their own path as heroes, with their own setbacks and growth. Jumping into their personal conflicts for no reason? That would just be asking for trouble. Even so, that was when they still stood as counterparts. Now, somehow, the light force had infected even Aster. At the very least, he hadn't gone completely insane yet. Which meant, while Aster was still confused, Hikaru couldn't act as if nothing had happened. He couldn't let Aster go chasing after a Jaden whose whereabouts were unknown. Aster, I'll give it everything I've got. Aster nodded. Countless spectators swallowed hard, watching the duel unfold with great anticipation. Even though Hikaru had gathered many powerful fusion monsters, for some reason, whenever he summoned Flame Swordsman, it always felt like that was when he was at his most serious. I activate the effect of the continuous spell card, Flame Swords Realm. Blazing flames ignited around Hikaru, and from within a dragon of fire, a swordsman in blue robes stood with arms crossed, half-shrouded in the inferno. Once per turn, I can send one monster from my hand or face-up field to the graveyard to fusion summon one Flame Swordsman. Hikaru sent a monster from his hand to the graveyard. Come forth, my most loyal swordsman. Ha! My liege, I have arrived. From within the flaming dragon, the Flame Swordsman leapt out and landed firmly on the field. Flame Swordsman, level 5 FIR Warrior 1600 def. I set one card and end my turn. It was a simple yet nostalgic opening. Many second and third year students couldn't help but smile in remembrance, while some first years, unaware of what their seniors were reminiscing about, still felt a thrill seeing the legendary swordsman. Flame Swordsman, Aster murmured softly as he raised his gaze. This was the fusion monster recorded in the school database as the one Hikaru favored during his journey along the path of fusion. With its various supporting fusion spells, this monster, despite having only 1800 attack, had demonstrated countless powerful effects. Aster closed his eyes in contemplation. In some ways, he felt envy toward Hikaru's pure and undiluted pursuit of fusion. Though now. My turn. I draw. After drawing, Aster revealed two cards from his hand. Spell card, Destiny Draw. Discard one Destiny Hero card from my hand to draw two cards. I discard Destiny Hero Malicious from my hand to draw two. Once he finished, he pointed to his graveyard. Malicious monster effect, by banishing him from the graveyard, I can special summon another Malicious from my deck. Come forth, Destiny Hero Malicious. A warrior with wings on his back and a bare chest, jokingly dubbed Trunksky, appeared on Aster's field. Destiny Hero Malicious. Level 60 ARK Warrior 800 ATK. Next, I normal summon Destiny Hero Diamond Dude. A green-caped warrior covered in diamonds swept his cloak dramatically as he emerged. Destiny Hero, Diamond Dude, Level 4 DRK Warrior 1400 ATK. Diamond Dude's effect, once per turn, reveal the top card of my deck. If it's a normal spell, send it to the graveyard. Otherwise, place it at the bottom of the deck. If it was a normal spell, then during my next main phase, I can activate its effect from the graveyard. Department Head, Zane Truesdale, once recommended you to me. He said your fusion style would show me something beyond fate. Aster recalled his Pro Duel match against Zane. Hikaru nodded lightly. He certainly didn't mind dueling Aster. After all, if he wanted to obtain the Destiny Hero, destroy Phoenix Enforcer, the embodiment of rebirth among fusion monsters, there was no better way than to duel Aster. But Aster lowered his head, sorrow clouding his expression, and the dark aura around him intensified. He muttered, lately, I've come to understand, fate really cannot be changed. The next card will be a normal spell. Several students stretched their necks, trying to catch a glimpse of Aster's next card. No way, could he really call that? Right? How many normal spells can you even run in one deck? What are the chances? And it turns out to be a normal spell. Some students assumed Aster was bluffing. But he calmly held up the card for all to see. Normal spell card, Pot of Greed. He sent it to the graveyard. Next turn, I can activate Pot of Greed's effect. It really was a normal spell. What insane luck! Seriously? And it was Pot of Greed? From the audience, Selena watched the duel, an inexplicable dread rising within her, as if something terrible had locked its eyes on her. Just flipping over a single card made her feel like a monstrous demon had marked her. What was going on? She looked around the arena. There was nothing obviously suspicious, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that a pair of malicious eyes were staring down from the sky, fixated on this duel. Chapter 333, Mirage Swordsman. Despite getting a free Pot of Greed, Aster didn't look particularly happy and continued the duel. I activate the spell card, Polymerization. He slowly slid a spell card into his duel disc. I fused the two Destiny Heroes on my field. Fusion materials, two Destiny Hero monsters. Come on. Destiny Hero, Dystopia. As Aster operated his duel disc, the two monsters on his field merged together, forming a high-tech-looking hero with golden pauldrons and a golden mask. At the top of the mask was a bold letter D. Then, Dystopia rubbed his hands together. Two dark orbs of energy appeared in his palms like twin black holes. Destiny Hero, Dystopia, Level 8 DRK Warrior 2800 ATK. Dystopia's monster effect activates. When this card is fusion summoned, inflict damage to the opponent equal to the attack of one level 4 or lower Destiny Hero in my graveyard. I choose Diamond Dude. Oppression Palm. Dystopia rushed up to Hikaru and slammed his right hand onto his shoulder. At first, there was no visible reaction. Then, boom! Hikaru instinctively clutched his shoulder, sucking in a sharp breath. Hikaru, LP, 2600. He struck first. As expected of a pro duelist. It's not over. I activate the effect of the second malicious in my graveyard, banish it to special summon a third from the deck. Wow! Rather than losing life points, it was seeing the third Trunks guy get summoned that made Hikaru grin. After all, in the OCG, you'd practically never see a third malicious. Spell card, Riryoku. Target two face-up monsters on the field. Until the end of this turn, have the attack of one target, and increase the other's attack by the same amount. I have Dystopia's attack and raise malicious. Dystopia, ATK, 2800-1400. Malicious, ATK, 800-2200. Ha! Their attack values didn't really change anything. What's the point? Some students voiced confusion. Maybe Aster Phoenix wants to deal more damage. No. Selena suddenly remembered. Dystopia's effect. At this moment, Dystopia's monster effect activates. Aster raised his right hand. Once per turn, if this card's current attack differs from its original, I can target one card on the field, destroy it, and this card's attack reverts to its original value. This is a quick effect that can be used on either player's turn. Ah! Oh no! If Flame Swordsman is destroyed here, Hikaru won't have any monsters left. Aster Phoenix, he's trying to end this duel this turn. The crowd buzzed at Aster's power. With just a few cards in minimal hand usage, he had fusion summoned a powerful high-level monster, repeated monster summons, boosted attack, and now could destroy enemy monsters. If Aster completed this chain, Hikaru would lose this turn. Dystopia's effect. Return to original attack. Destroy one monster on your opponent's field. Exalted Justice. Dystopia, ATK, 1400-2800. Dystopia charged at Flame Swordsman. The swordsman swung his massive blade to defend himself, but no matter how hard he tried, his power was absorbed and bang! He shattered into pieces. And now Ayada. Just as Aster prepared to launch a direct attack and end what had turned into a disappointing duel, he noticed the burning ring of fire on the field had not disappeared. In fact, the flames were still raging. They turned from red to black, and that black fire spread around the field. What's going on? Wait, does Flame Swordsman have an effect? No, I thought it was vanilla. The students looked around, puzzled. No one could offer an explanation. Then, as the flames engulfed the entire field, they gradually shifted from black to blue. I activate a monster effect. A monster effect? Aster was stunned. Don't tell me there's a Flame Swordsman from another dimension with an effect? No, the effect I'm activating isn't Flame Swordsman's. It's the monster effect of Mirage Swordsman in my graveyard. Who is that? Aster was utterly shocked. The graveyard? It was the monster sent there by Flame Sword's realm. Boom! Before he could think further, the black flames fully transformed into blue fire. From the sky, two great swords spiraled down, followed by a black silhouette slowly forming between them. Under everyone's gaze, the black armor on the figure began to crack, revealing gleaming, radiant gold beneath. Ha! The swordsman grasped the twin blades and danced forward, slashing through the air, completely stopping the two Destiny heroes from attempting a direct attack. Then, he calmly stood guard beside Hikaru. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, and a face-up fire fusion monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card. This is the new form of the knight who has overcome countless trials and carved a path for me. Mirage Swordsman. Mirage Swordsman, level 8 FIR Warrior 2800 ATK. Having endured it all, taking every fall for Hikaru without complaint, Black Flame had finally, after having his true feelings exposed by Tiara, let go of the desire to only be a fusion monster and evolved. Mirage Swordsman, could it be Mirage Knight? Aster, ever knowledgeable, realized. He remembered how Dark Flare Knight could summon Mirage Knight after being destroyed in battle. That card's an evolution of Dark Flare Knight. It went from fusion monster to tribute monster? But it's still related to fusion. Amaki Hikaru, he even achieved that. Some were amazed, some in awe, some confused, and others incredulous. They'd heard of cards evolving alongside their duelists, but seeing it with their own eyes felt like a dream. Mirage Swordsman had 2,800 attack, the same as the now restored Dystopia. A direct attack would be pointless. Even if they clashed, it wouldn't end the duel. Malicious couldn't do it either. So it was clearly better for Aster to keep Dystopia alive. However, beyond the technical choices of this turn, a ripple ran through Aster's heart, which had felt like dead, still water until now. To walk alongside your card, to evolve together. This legendary story had appeared right before his eyes. For someone who loves dual monsters, it was a shock. Yet, because of that, as a spark of vitality returned to him and he began to reflect on himself, the pain only deepened. Compared to Hikaru, who grew alongside his monsters and pursued fusion wholeheartedly, he was just using heroes for revenge. Chapter 334. I set 2 cards and end my turn. After the attack, Aster set 2 trap cards on the field and ended his turn. That brought the turn back to Amaki Hikaru. My turn. Draw. Hikaru glanced at his hand but didn't act immediately. Instead, he looked toward his opponent. Thanks to Mirage Swordsman's appearance, Aster seemed slightly more spirited, no longer the hollow shell he had been moments ago. After nearly 2 years of dueling in this world, and having taught Selena, Hikaru had developed a sense for an opponent's emotional state during a duel. Still, it wasn't quite enough. I activate Flame Swordsrealm's effect again. I send a monster from my hand to the graveyard to fusion summon another Flame Swordsman. Hikaru sent a monster to the graveyard and summoned a second Flame Swordsman. "Ah, I'm back again," the swordsman shouted boisterously. "Another Flame Swordsman? But what good is summoning a second one?" "No, don't forget Flame Swordsrealm's other effect. You can reduce the attack of one warrior-type monster you control to increase all other monsters' attack by 1000 until the end of the turn." "Oh!" someone exclaimed in realization. "Battle!" Hikaru declared, entering the battle phase. At this moment, I activate a trap card. Aster flipped his set card. Continuous trap, Call of the Haunted, revive a monster from my graveyard. I bring back Diamond Dude. And it's not over. Aster immediately activated his second set card. Trap card, Defusion. Fusion from a trap. Aster's countering with Fusion too. I recognize that card, he used it against Kaiser. Defusion? Hikaru slightly raised his eyebrows. So that's how it is. This card lets you fusion summon a Destiny hero using monsters on the field. The summoned monster can't be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. Aster picked up Malicious and Diamond Dude. Fusion materials, a Destiny hero and a dark monster. Clink clink. The clatter of countless chains echoed as the monsters turned into streaks of light and fused into the chains. Then, a warrior clad in silver-white armor with a cloak like a devil's claw appeared, clutching his face and roaring. Unlike elemental heroes, Destiny heroes focused on darkness and depth. This fusion monster was a prime example. Fusion summon. Destiny hero, Dangerous. Destiny hero, Dangerous, level 60 RK Warrior 2000 ATK. Clutching his last card in hand, Aster spoke, Flame Swordsrealm's effect triggers when a monster declares an attack. You reduce one warrior's attack by 1000, and all other monsters gain 1000 attack until the end of the turn. So, if I stop you before the attack declaration, it won't activate. Aster discarded his last hand card. I activate Dangerous monster effect. During either player's turn, discard one card to send a Destiny hero from my hand or deck to the graveyard. Then, if there are Destiny heroes in the graveyard, all Destiny heroes I control gain 200 ATK for each. He explained as he acted. I discard Destiny hero Disc Commander and send Destiny hero Celestial from my deck to the graveyard. That makes 4 Destiny heroes in my graveyard. That meant his Destiny heroes each gained 800 ATK. Dystopia, ATK, 2800-3600. Dangerous, ATK, 2800. At this moment, Dystopia's effect activates. Reset its attack to its original value and destroy your Flame Swords realm. Exalted Justice. A powerful suction force ripped through the flaming domain. In seconds, the flames were absorbed into Dystopia's hand and vanished with a sharp snap. Dystopia, ATK, 3600-2800. Hikaru surveyed the field, unfazed. Dangerous and Dystopia together made for a powerful setup. In this world, where opponent turn interference was rarer, Aster's combo was genuinely intimidating. Then again, Dangerous plus Dystopia amounted to a budget version of Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. Hikaru wasn't that concerned. He'd been through worse, his resistance had grown. Even though he withstood the offensive, it feels like Aster overextended, doesn't it? Murmured some spectators, puzzled by Aster's choices. Yeah. He could have just used Dystopia to destroy Mirage Swordsman. No need to worry about Flame Sword's realm at all. No. Aster firmly dismissed that thought. Though he didn't know all of Mirage Swordsman's effects, his duelist's instinct and his knowledge of Hikaru told him Mirage Swordsman definitely had an effect related to fusion. Aster, then I'll have Mirage Swordsman attack your dystopia. Bring it on! Aster shouted back. The two warriors leapt at each other, one twirling dual swords in a dazzling display of technique, the other radiating energy with a flourish of psychic force. Their powers collided, and both vanished from the field with a deafening boom. But what shocked everyone was this. Even though Mirage Swordsman disappeared, the flames guarding Hikaru remained. Mirage Swordsman's monster effect. Hikaru raised his voice in hand. When this card is destroyed by battle or effect, I can special summon one Flame Swordsman or a level 7 or lower monster that lists that name from my deck or extra deck. Come forth. Special summon in defense position. Dark Flare Knight. The blue flames gradually turned black again. Moments later, the stoic knight reappeared, gripping his sword of black fire, locking eyes with his foe. Dark Flare Knight, level 60 Arca Warrior 800 def. So it was a fusion-related ability. Aster nodded to himself. The opposite of Mirage Knight, he murmured, frowning. So even if Mirage Swordsman is destroyed, as long as there's a fire fusion monster on the field, he can revive. And even without Flame Sword's realm, he can still summon a fusion monster. An incredible card, Aster admitted. As long as there was a fire fusion monster, it could keep reviving, transforming, and reviving again. Like an immortal phoenix reborn from the flames. Some students also began to realize how dangerous that had been. If Aster had destroyed Mirage Swordsman instead of Flame Sword's realm, Phantom would have summoned Dark Flare Knight, who could then use Flame Sword's realm to destroy Dystopia by battle, inflicting damage and preserving Flame Sword's realm for even more longevity. This was the power of an evolved fusion card. Aster stared at Dangerous on his field, torn. His surname, Phoenix, meant an immortal bird. Yet now, he felt like a prisoner in chains of such a monster. I set one card and end my turn. With no way to continue the offensive, Hikaru set a card and said calmly, Aster, what exactly have you been going through? Tell me. Maybe I or someone else has faced something similar. Maybe we can help. Help? Aster's handsome face twisted as he lowered his head, voice trembling. As if you could possibly understand me. Chapter 335, You and I are not different. My turn. I draw. Aster Phoenix drew a card. Normally, he would never have exposed his past in front of so many people, he had no interest in letting the world know his lineage. That said, this time was different. He had, to some extent, already given up. How could you possibly understand what I'm feeling, he growled, voice trembling. Would telling someone make them understand? Or am I supposed to broadcast my tragedy and beg for pity like a clown? Don't make me laugh. His teeth clenched so tightly they audibly cracked. I don't need any of that. Hikaru hesitated briefly, then raised his voice. Aster Phoenix. I am Amaki Hikaru, head of the Fusion Club, top duelist of Glorious Duel Academy. I was the one in charge on the day you joined the club. I knew your story from the very beginning. Holding his cards and locking eyes with Aster, Hikaru spoke calmly as Aster stared back, stunned. I heard it all. When you were a child, your father was murdered in an incident, and his cards were stolen. Ever since then, you've been chasing his killer. I know. And I understand. Understand? How could you understand? Aster, I don't have parents either, Hikaru replied, flat and honest. Aster was struck speechless. Around them, the students exchanged stunned glances, none had expected the duel to unfold like this. Despite that, it was exactly the kind of answer that resonated most with someone trapped in emotional chaos. Aster closed his eyes, taking deep breaths to calm himself. I found the man who killed my father, he said quietly, staring at his trembling right hand. He was someone deeply important to me. After my father died, he raised me, trained me to become a pro duelist. Whoa! The spectators couldn't help but feel that this duel was absolutely worth watching. I found out he took my father's card not for justice, not for preservation, just for power. That was it. He raised his fist, his voice and body trembling violently. He used that card's power to absorb my father's soul. To get revenge, to defeat him, I destroyed that monster with my own hands. I personally destroyed my father's soul. I couldn't even hear his final words. He just faded away. I didn't even get one last sentence, not one. Hikaru's pupils shrank sharply. So that was it. That was the key. He finally understood. In the original, when Aster dueled DD, his father's soul appeared from Destiny hero Plasma mid-duel. Despite being tormented, he called out to Aster, encouraging him to destroy Plasma and move forward. However, in this version of the world, though Aster saw his father's soul within Plasma, the soul couldn't speak. Was it a butterfly effect caused by the stronger influence of the light of destruction? If so, this was serious. After all, who besides his father could lead Aster out of this darkness? Hikaru sighed deeply. No wonder even someone like Aster, who should be immune to the light of destruction, ended up infected. The dark aura surrounding Aster spread, staining even his pristine white suit. He was lost, spiraling deeper into despair. Destroying Plasma had been cathartic, revenge served. But afterward? What am I even doing? Aster murmured, his voice trembling, while gradually becoming eerily calm. That calm wasn't peace. It was death-like. Everyone could feel the suicidal undercurrent in Aster's tone. Maybe fate really is unchangeable, Aster said quietly. Fate killed my father, led me to use Destiny heroes, and disguised me as a phoenix to hunt criminals around the world. But it never told me my true enemy was my foster father. The man I respected most was the one who deserved to die most. Fate always made victory easy for me when I wanted it. And now, fate has brought me to this duel. Amaki, only now do I envy you. Your pure pursuit of fusion, your disdain for brute strength. You are truly blessed by fate. He picked up Dangerous' card and said, Me? I just pretended to be a hero, believed I was punishing evil, thought I was doing good, but really, I was just a fool. Maybe DD was right. I never wanted to be a hero. I just relied on Destiny heroes and strong cards to vent my own destructive urges. He wasn't a hero. He was a prisoner of fate. No, you're wrong, Aster. Hikaru cut through his self-loathing. You've got it all wrong. Wrong about what? There's no such thing as destiny. There are only choices. Hikaru said firmly. When you chose to use Destiny heroes, when you chose to act as a vigilante, when you chose to chase down thieves and robbers, you already became a hero. Your origin doesn't matter. Your fate is your own choice. Your use of Destiny heroes, that too, was your choice. What nonsense. It's simple. I didn't believe in fusion from the very beginning, either. I didn't pursue fusion from day one. What? Aster was stunned. Ha! Wait, what? Now, even the onlookers gasped in disbelief. What do you mean? Amaki Hikaru didn't always believe in fusion? This completely shattered their worldview. Everyone knew about Hikaru's unconditional devotion to fusion. Everything started with a choice. Hikaru held up the card around his neck, gazing at it. When he came to this world, his deck had been entirely replaced with fusion cards, but that didn't mean he couldn't use other kinds. If all he wanted was victory, he could have ditched super polymerization and built a stable trap-heavy deck. Even so, he kept running a pure fusion deck not because he had to, but because over time, he came to believe in fusion. Not just because of its power, but because he genuinely came to love it. Aster, tell me. When you were acting as a hero, using your hero deck, were you never once happy? When you helped people, saved others, did your heart always feel dead? Hikaru's words reached something in Aster, reigniting a small spark in his suicidal gloom. Before I joined Duel Academy, I didn't use a fusion deck either. Whether it was this world's original Hikaru or the soul that came later, he had never focused on fusion until he came here. But after arriving, I met Jaden, met Flame Swordsman, Dark Flare Knight, Captain Crystal, Full Metal Alchemist, met every friend in the Fusion Club, including you and her. These people became precious to me. He glanced at Tiara out of the corner of his eye. She stood with arms crossed, head held high with pride. By using fusion, I got better with fusion. And I came to trust it more. That didn't happen overnight. It was gradual, step by step, growing firmer. That's how fusion and I walk together. And you? You must have met all sorts of companions too, didn't you? So why are you like this now? Look at yourself. Hikaru swept his arm wide, as though a purple vortex swallowed the entire duel field. He declared, Aster Phoenix. There's only one difference between us. I'm more steadfast on the path of fusion. I believe in it more. No matter what happens around me, I won't waver. But you faced hardship. And because it was too much, too painful, you couldn't bear it. So you gave up. Being a hero isn't child's play. To truly be a hero, you have to endure setbacks, hardship, sorrow, grief, anything. You retreated just because the world wasn't as easy as you imagined. Weakness isn't the mistake. The mistake is giving up, not trying to change. Upon hearing those words, the dark aura around Aster flared wildly. Hey, Hikaru, what are you doing? Aren't you trying to save your junior? Isn't this even more dangerous? Tiara cried out in shock, speaking up for the first time during the duel. Because with Aster's shift in state, she could see it, a terrifying power, perhaps even stronger than the sacred beasts, was reviving inside him. Hikaru didn't answer. At this point, talking softly would do nothing. Only sharper words, riskier ones, had any meaning now. Amaki, Aster said hoarsely, I can't guarantee what happens next. Bring it on, Hikaru said unhesitantly. I'll snap you out of it with my fusion. Then my turn. Aster roared. His aura shifted dramatically, and behind him, a crimson figure cloaked in light began to twist and writhe. Chapter 336, Denial Determines the Future. The standby phase ended, and the turn officially entered Aster Phoenix's turn. The scent of blood thickened around the duel field. Even freshmen with low spirit adaptability, or students who had been enrolled for less than a year, could now sense the terrifying spirit power. That may be true. At this point in the match, some students began offering their analysis. Aster only has one card in hand. Even if he powers up and defeats Flame Swordsman, Mirage Swordsman in the graveyard can still come back. Exactly. How could anyone turn the tables with just one card? Some expressed doubt toward Aster. Pathetic talk. Aster didn't even look at them. I normal summon Destiny Hero, Doom Lord. A warrior style like a demonic noble, with massive clawed gauntlets, stood calmly. Destiny Hero, Doom Lord, level 3 DRK Warrior 600 ATK. Real duelists never lack cards. Letting his sarcasm rip, Aster drew 2 more cards. After checking them, he looked into his graveyard. I activate the effect of Celestial. If I have no cards in hand, I can banish this card along with another Destiny Hero to draw 2 cards. I banish Destiny Hero Celestial and Destiny Hero Dystopia to draw 2. He's banishing Dystopia? Hikaru pondered. Personally, he wasn't a fan of Dystopia. Sure, it was a key Destiny Hero upgrade from Arc V and performed well, but he never liked Aster's Arc V version, so the card didn't sit well with him. But this world's Aster was distinctly the original. Dystopia was his trusted ace. Therefore, banishing it. Above the field, a clock pendulum began to swing. Next, the effect of Diamond Dude from the last turn. The Pot of Greed sent to the graveyard will now activate. So I draw 2 cards. Since it was a pre-resolved effect, nothing could interrupt it. Aster drew another 2 cards. He had gone from 0 to 4 cards in a single turn. He replenished his hand that easily. From 0 to 4, that's insane. Holding his new cards, Aster glanced toward the crowd and began strategizing. Even under the light's influence, a duelist of his caliber wouldn't lose clarity, not unless he was fully consumed. Until then, he remained the top pro duelist in this world. Now then, I'll deal with that endlessly reviving Mirage Swordsman. If Doomlord is in attack position, once per turn I can send one of your monsters to the future, 2 of my standby phases from now. Begone, Flame Swordsman, to the future. Doomlord leapt high, claws gleaming. Flame Swordsman braced himself, but Doomlord snatched his throat with a single claw, and the warrior vanished. In short, one of Hikaru's monsters had been banished and wouldn't return for 2 of Aster's turns. Hikaru narrowed his eyes at the fading swordsman but didn't panic. The turn I use Doomlord's effect, I can't conduct a battle phase. Aster raised his right hand. But I can still use monster effects. I activate Dangerous Monster Effect. I discard a card, then send 1 Destiny Hero from my hand or deck to the graveyard. All Destiny Hero monsters I control gain 200 ATK per Destiny Hero in my graveyard until the end of the turn. He revealed the card in hand. I discard Destiny Hero, draw hand and send Destiny Hero, Denier from my deck to the graveyard. That boosts my Destiny Heroes by 800 ATK. Still, the boost wasn't the main goal. In the graveyard, Destiny Hero, Denier's effect. If I control or have another Destiny Hero besides Denier in my graveyard, I can special summon this card. This effect can only be used once per duel. Come forth, Destiny Hero, Denier. The clinking of chains echoed. A hero with a flail-like chain weapon spun it around as he appeared on the field. Destiny Hero, Denier, level 3 DARK Warrior 600 def. Denier, Hikaru observed the monster. Denier's monster effect. When normal or special summoned, target 1 Destiny Hero from your deck, graveyard, or banished zone and place it on top of your deck. I choose Destiny Hero Plasma, who sleeps in my deck. As Aster declared this, a massive crimson shadow emerged behind him. The entire world seemed to bleed red under its presence. You fixed your future on that card, Aster. It doesn't matter anymore, Aster replied coldly as he set 1 card. I set 1 card and end my turn. All my monsters' ATK return to normal. Your move, Club President. Then my turn. Hikaru drew. Scatter Fusion. He narrowed his eyes. At this moment, Destiny Hero, Draw Hand's effect activates. If sent to the graveyard, it special summons itself during the next standby phase. Then, if it was special summoned by a hero effect, both players draw a card. Destiny Hero Draw Hand, level 4 DRK Warrior 1600 ATK. Both duelists drew a card. Aster's was Plasma. Hikaru's was Dragon's Mirror. I activate the continuous spell card, Scatter Fusion. Hikaru eyed the card in his hand, then calmly activated it. It lets you fusion summon using materials directly from the deck, but I won't give you the chance to use that kind of card, President. Aster shouted. I flip my set card, Quick Play Spell, Mystical Space Typhoon. I destroy 1 spell or trap on the field, Scatter Fusion. The gem Hikaru had just laid couldn't even resonate with the rest, it was blown away by a storm. Looks like this duel had nothing to do with gems after all. This is fate, President. The card I drew last turn destroyed your countermeasure. Everything is decided by destiny. Aster declared coldly. Then I'll go straight to the battle phase. Hikaru pointed across the field. Destiny? In that case, let me rewrite the part where you lose life points. Dark Flare Knight, attack Doom Lord. Aster braced himself as the red-bladed knight charged and pierced through, followed by a fiery blade that sliced into Aster himself. Aster, LP, 2400. Ha! Some students looked confused. Why didn't he use Dangerous Effect to raise ATK? That would have lessened the damage. The reason was simple. Aster wanted to keep his card. Hikaru furrowed his brow. Aster had seen through his move, or rather, his power of destiny was overwhelming him at every turn. However, Hikaru looked at the two set cards beside him. If everything was following Aster's destiny, then these two cards were destined to turn the tide. Chapter 337, Ultimate D, Destiny Hero, Plasma. Hikaru glanced at his hand. Aside from the dragon's mirror he drew due to Aster's draw hand, he also held a card meant to protect himself, Vampire Fräulein. As for the two set cards, their usefulness would depend on whether Aster gave him an opening. If he didn't, only one of them would activate. Dragon's Mirror. Now was the time to deliberate. Should he activate Dragon's Mirror now, or save it for the future? End turn. Hey, Aster chuckled coldly. Dong dong. It was as if the bell of fate had tolled. Then, forgive me, President. My turn. I draw. Aster drew a card, then played one immediately, spell card, Monster Reborn. I revived Disc Commander from the graveyard. The hero covered in discs rose again. The unbeatable disc. Hikaru furrowed his brow. It was the authentic Disc Commander, not a version with nerfed effects. When Disc Commander is special summoned from the graveyard, I draw two cards. Aster replenished his hand yet again. Then, I tribute Destiny Hero Disc Commander, Denier, and draw hand. Swoosh. The three named heroes radiated blood-red light. That light surged upward in a beam that pierced the sky and vanished beyond the clouds. By tributing three monsters, I can call forth this card. This is Destiny Hero's Ultimate Hero. Ultimate D, Destiny Hero, Plasma. The pillar of blood turned into a sphere of gore, dimming the once bright sky with its crimson veil. The stench of blood choked the air. Some weaker students even gagged. From within the blood, a snapping sound echoed. A winged silhouette descended slowly. Destiny Hero Plasma, Level 8 DRK Warrior 1900 ATK. 1900 attack? 3 tributes for just 1900? But, that thing feels terrifying. Even the expressionless Society of Light members flinched as this monster emerged. Fear crept into every spectator's heart. Next, I activate the spell card D-Force. A white veil of light began swirling around Aster. After activation, this card is placed face up on top of my deck. As long as it stays there, I cannot draw cards. Ha! Isn't that suicidal? In exchange, while D-Force is face up on the top of my deck, Plasma negates the effects of all monsters my opponent controls. Dark Flare Knight, unshaken before, now buckled under the pressure. His aura drained, and he turned deathly pale. Then, Plasma's effect. Once per turn, target one of your monsters, equip it to Plasma. Plasma gains half its attack and copies its effect. Before Dark Flare Knight could react, he was pulled in by Plasma's force, absorbed into its body. Destiny Hero Plasma, ATK, 1900 3000. Oh no, Hikaru's field is wide open now. Don't panic. Hikaru still has 2 face downs. Naive. Aster sneered. Equip spell, Cyclone Blade. Equip only to a Destiny Hero. When it declares an attack, destroy all other spells and traps on the field. I equip it to Dangerous. Wait, wouldn't that destroy Plasma's equip too? Because of the duel's tense mood, the spectators were hyper-focused. As long as the attack goes through, I don't care. The duel ends here. Forget attack points. Dangerous, direct attack. Right. As long as the attack goes through. This is what I was waiting for, Aster. Hikaru shouted. I flip my trap card, Necrofusion. I banish materials from my graveyard face down to Fusion Summon. The summoned monster can't attack this turn. From the graveyard? Aster frowned. He had finally baited out Hikaru's set card, but what could Hikaru possibly fuse with his current graveyard? Fusion materials, 1 Fire Warrior and 1 Dragon. Dragon? Aster paused. Oh. That second card, Flame Swords Realm, sent to the grave? I banish Curse of Dragon and Flame Swordsman face down. Boom! Scarlet flames surged around Hikaru. A dragon clutched a sword in its jaws, coiling around him. Fusion Summon. Fighting Flame Dragon. Fighting Flame Dragon, level 5 FIRA Dragon 1600 def. And I'm not done. The other card you destroyed. Waking the Dragon. TCH. Aster recognized it. If this set card is sent to the graveyard or banished by your effect, I can special summon one monster from my deck or extra deck. Come forth, Predaplant Chimera Flesia. Under the darkened sky, a massive carnivorous flower erupted from the ground, revealing itself. Predaplant Chimera Flesia, level 70 ARK Plant 2000 def. Honestly, Hikaru would have preferred summoning Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, a psychological hit to Aster. Though sadly, DPE could only be special summoned by Fusion Summon. He wished he had a revival-capable hero fusion like Jaden's Flame Wingman, but alas, no such card was available. Because of Cyclone Blade, Plasma's equip spell was also destroyed, reducing its attack back to 1900. Which meant it couldn't overcome Chimera Flesia's defense. TCH. Aster looked at the two new monsters and grunted. I discard Destiny Hero Dasher from my hand to activate Dangerous effect. All Destiny heroes I control gain 200 ATK for each Destiny hero in my graveyard. There are 7 Destiny heroes in my graveyard, they gain 1400 ATK. Destiny Hero Plasma, ATK, 1900 3300. Destiny Hero Dangerous, ATK, 2000 3400. However, in doing so, he discarded 2 cards. Now he only had 1 card left in his hand. And that was all he had. He could draw no more. Destiny Hero Dangerous attacks Chimera Flesia. Chapter 338. Predaplant Chimera Flesia was destroyed by Dangerous. After that, Aster's gaze shifted to the Fighting Flame Dragon. He didn't know what this monster's effect was, but one thing was certain. It was Fire Attribute. A fire fusion monster, made from a fire warrior and a dragon, its design was distinctly related to Flame Swordsman. Obviously, another Flame Swordsman linked card. He could choose not to attack. However, in doing so, next turn, Hikaru would still have a fire fusion monster on the field, because during the standby phase, the Flame Swordsman he sent to the future would return. Given that, he may as well attack now. Plasma attacks Fighting Flame Dragon. Fighting Flame Dragon was caught in Plasma's claw and torn apart. Then I special summon Mirage Swordsman. The golden armored warrior reappeared on Hikaru's field once more. Mirage Swordsman, level 8 FIRA Warrior 2800 ATK. End of turn. My turn, draw. Hikaru glanced at his hand. Fusion substitute? He frowned. Not suitable. Now, Predaplant Chimera Flesia's effect activates. When this card is sent to the graveyard, during the next standby phase, I can add a spell/trap that lists fusion from my deck to my hand. A monster effect that searches any fusion-related card. Seriously perfect for Amaki Hikaru. Wow, even if it's the second time seeing it, it really hits how far Hikaru's pursuit of fusion has come. In fact, in a few days, Hikaru might even pull off fusing into a monster whose name includes fusion. Regretfully, he couldn't do that now. I add Fusion Recycling Plant from my deck to my hand, then activate it. Rumble. The familiar fusion-only field spell rose across the dual field. Hikaru could have chosen a more versatile card, but right now, drawing a fresh card was the better move. I activate Fusion Recycling Plant's effect, discard 1 card to add 1 polymerization from my deck or graveyard to my hand. He retrieved a fusion from his deck. Then, from the graveyard, Fusion substitutes effect. Return Chimera Flesia to the extra deck to draw 1 card. Hikaru drew. Refusion. That worked, now he didn't need to use Dragon's Mirror. Tiara? Ha! Are you doubting me? Tiara answered irritably. Everything was ready. Then here we go. Battle phase. Hikaru shouted, Mirage Swordsman, attack Destiny Hero Plasma. Ha! That's suicide. Yeah, even if Plasma only has 1900 attack, Aster Phoenix can still use his effect. Exactly. Dangerous effect could still be used. But that was also the issue. If Aster used Dangerous effect now, with only one card in hand, he wouldn't be able to discard another Destiny Hero later. Then, Mirage Swordsman's effect would be active again. However, if he didn't activate it, Hikaru's Mirage Swordsman attacking Plasma would still be a death sentence. Because Plasma was all he had left. If he lost it. And inside that card, his father's soul still lingered. I activate Dangerous Monster effect. Discard one card and send Destiny Hero Double Dude from deck to graveyard. All Destiny Hero monsters I control gain 1600 ATK. Destiny Hero Plasma, ATK, 1900 3500. But that means you have to shuffle, Aster. Hikaru struck the heart of the issue, pointing at Aster. When you manipulate your deck to send a card to the graveyard, you must shuffle. And if Deep Force isn't on the top of your deck afterward, Plasma loses the ability to negate the effects of all opponent monsters. So come on, Aster. Shuffle. Will it be decided by destiny or by your own decision? It all rides on this shuffle. Shuffle. Everyone held their breath, watching Aster. He looked down at his deck, both afraid and hopeful. Hopeful about what this shuffle might mean. He picked up his deck, refused to let the dual disc auto shuffle, and slowly shuffled it by hand, eyes closed. Everyone stared at his hands. Kaiba Corp's cameras zoomed in, broadcasting the shuffle to the entire site. As Aster shuffled, Deep Force repeatedly reappeared near the top of the deck. Every time he casually cut, it almost landed on top again. That was Destiny's favor. Then suddenly, Aster froze. He swallowed instinctively, then slowly opened his eyes and looked at the top card of his deck. His eyes widened. Deep Force was nowhere to be seen. It was at the bottom of the deck. Ha ha. Hikaru let out a soft laugh. Battle continues. Mirage Swordsman attacks Destiny Hero Plasma. Mirror Flame Slash. Mirage Swordsman charged the bloody warrior, whose body unleashed a torrent of swallowed souls like a black hole. Anyhow, Mirage Swordsman's body glowed with a sacred power that shielded him from the onslaught. Mirage Swordsman's effect. During the damage step of battle, destroy both battling monsters. What? Meaning, no matter what Aster does, Plasma will be destroyed. Blue fire erupted and engulfed Plasma. A burst of blinding white light exploded across the sky. Ah! The crowd gasped. As Plasma exploded, Aster suddenly found himself in a violet space. Where was this? Aster. A gentle voice called from behind. He turned in shock. F.A. Father. Elsewhere, a small figure rested her chin in her hand, watching. Tiara, as a goddess of rebirth and machinery, had used her authority to release a soul. To reincarnate it. Father, Dad. Aster could barely speak. Aster, you've grown, his father said, relieved. Sorry, I kept you trapped in a frozen clock. No, However, now, it's time for that clock to tick again. I used to think Plasma was my creation, but when I dwelled within it, I realized I was wrong. Just like Pegasus receiving inspiration from the cosmos to create the god cards, I, too, received divine insight to craft that card. That said, its true form was never unlocked. It was possessed by evil. That's why it became what it did. You were too fixated on my death to see it. He gently embraced Aster. Stop blaming yourself, my proud son. Defeating DD and destroying the card wasn't the second death of your father. It was the salvation of our souls. You are a true hero, Aster. Defeat the evil. Restore that card's true form. Without realizing it, Aster's tears had already begun to flow. The life force struggled violently, desperate to corrupt this human vessel. It longed for his potential. Yet, with his father's soul revealed and his true feelings laid bare, this born hero reclaimed his pride. "Father, watch me now." In the next instant, he reappeared on the duel field, took a deep breath, wiped his eyes, and smiled. "Well done, President Hikaru. However, because Mirage Swordsman destroyed himself with his own effect, he can't revive." "True." Hikaru looked at his hand. "I activate spell card, Refusion. Pay 800 LP to revive Fighting Flame Dragon. Hikaru, LP, 2600-1800. Fighting Flame Dragon, Level 5 Fire Dragon 1700 ATK. I set one card. Turn end. My turn. Draw. Now, Flame Swordsman crosses the River of Time and returns to my field. Flame Swordsman, Level 5 Fire Warrior 1600 Def. Aster drew, ha. I drew Pot of Avarice. Return 5 monsters from my graveyard to my deck and draw 2 cards. Diamond Dude, Doom Lord, Dreadmaster, Denier, and Destiny Hero, Plasma, back to deck. His deck began rapidly shuffling. After a moment, the shuffle stopped. Through the card tint, he saw D4 still at the bottom of the deck. Ha! He looked at the 2 cards he drew. One was a trap card featuring Plasma he'd never seen before. Trap card, Break the Destiny. He clenched his fist. This must have been from his father, a card placed into his deck just moments ago. A card that told him not to give up. Then, the other was the card that would lead him to victory. I activate normal spell, Pot of Benevolence. Target 2 cards in both players' graveyards. Return them to their respective decks, then banish this card. I return your Mirage Swordsman and my Pot of Greed. That way, you can't use Dark Flare Knight's evolution effect. Dangerous, attack the returning Flame Swordsman. Defeat the card that symbolizes the President's soul. Ha, like I'd let you destroy it that easily. Hikaru grinned. It crossed time, fate, countless hardships, and bonded with me. It's the starting point of my fusion path. It is my ace monster. I activate trap card, Fusion Duplication. The trap flipped, showing Magical Scientist and the creation of Ready Fusion. Aster blinked. This card can be activated once per turn. Target 1 fusion normal or quick play spell in either graveyard. Banish that spell and apply its effect. From your graveyard, Hikaru said. No way. That's right, Aster. I choose your polymerization. I don't care about Destiny or Hero, you've always been a Fusion Club member, and you've always been my friend. So let me use your fusion now. I activate Fusion Duplication's effect, replicating polymerization. I fuse Flame Swordsman and Fighting Flame Dragon. The Fire Dragon coiled around the Swordsman. They're fusing 2 fusion monsters? Fusion of a fusion monster? Fusing Fighting Flame Dragon, which itself was fused from Flame Swordsman. Everyone held their breath. This time, Flame Swordsman didn't yell playfully. He solemnly raised his oversized greatsword. His armor cracked, then was reforged into a grander, brighter design. Just like Tiara said, he and Mirage were long overdue for evolution. Mirage refused to evolve into anything but a fusion support monster. That said, Flamesword's energy had always been too great. Fusion materials, Flame Swordsman and Fighting Flame Dragon. Aster was shocked, a fusion with specific listed materials? Hikaru hadn't used such a monster in ages. But this was the original form of fusion. He raised both hands. Fire surged across his palms. Then he clasped his hands together. The swordsman who controls fire. The flame dragon that wields a greatsword. Unite with the power of fusion, and take on a new form, stand by my side. My most trusted companion. Fusion summon. My partner, my friend, my symbol. Level 8. Ultimate Flame Swordsman. Boom! Fire engulfed the sky, scorching the crimson veil. Ultimate Flame Swordsman, Level 8 FIRA Warrior 2800 ATK. Seeing the flaming greatsword, the dragon coiled around the swordsman, and that steadfast warrior's face, Aster was momentarily dazed. You chose fusion. I chose hero. We are no different. He almost heard it. Ha! Yeah. He remembered now. Was it really because his father died that he chose heroes? No. He had already been playing with hero cards as a child, joyfully. His father created Destiny heroes because he loved them. 2800, ha! Battle continues. Dangerous attacks Ultimate Flame Swordsman. He charged into the flames, laughing. I activate Dangerous effect. Discard one card, send one Destiny hero from deck to graveyard. All Destiny heroes gain 800 ATK. Dangerous, ATK, 2800. Same ATK as Ultimate Flame Swordsman. Whoa! Though their ATKs were even, the duelists delivered an impact none could believe. At Aster's cry, Dangerous cast off his binding chains. For the first time, he stopped hiding himself. The hero power within him exploded, transforming into rainbow light aimed at the Supreme Swordsman. Even against a stronger foe, he would give it his all. This was the hero of Destiny. Ha! Hikaru smiled back. Then I strike back. Ultimate Flame Swordsman's effect, at the start of damage calculation during battle, double its ATK, then destroy it during the end phase. It doubles. Aster gasped. Ultimate Flame Swordsman, ATK, 2800 5600. Whoa! 5600. It surpassed Five-Headed Dragon. The crowd erupted. From the duelists' philosophies, to the shocking reveals, to unseen cards. For students cooped up at this site, this duel wasn't just exciting. It was inspiring. Now, Ultimate Flame Swordsman's ATK far exceeded Dangerous. No matter. Keep going, Dangerous. Show them our spirit. Let's go, Flameblade. Boom. Like a comet smashing Earth, the two warriors clashed. Dangerous spun his mighty blade like a cyclone, trying to snuff out the fire. But the more the fire was fanned, the more it blazed. The flames pierced through Dangerous, spreading to Aster himself. Aster Phoenix, LP, 2400. Ha ha. Aster laughed again. His heart raced. Then he shook his head with a smile. Seriously, what am I getting all fired up for? Chapter 339. The duel had ended, yet Aster did not appear disheartened or anguished. Instead, he wore a rare, gentle smile. However, that smile quickly faded. You truly are impressive, President Amaki. A brand new flame swordsman born from fire and fusion, radiant as the sun itself. After the duel, Aster shook hands with Amaki Hikaru. There had never been any animosity between them, nor much interaction before. Yet whether it was their first encounter or during Hikaru's later duels with interdimensional beings and members of the Fusion Army, Aster had always quietly watched as a member of the Fusion Club. He deeply admired Hikaru's unwavering belief in fusion. Aster had long wanted to duel Hikaru, to sharpen his own skills from another angle. But he never imagined it would be under these circumstances. Ideally, he had hoped for a more formal and fitting stage, like the Pro League. Yes, to him, Hikaru was exactly the kind of duelist made for the professional circuit. Still, fate had intervened. Through a twist of destiny, Aster ended up dueling Hikaru. Perhaps this really was the perfect moment. After the duel, Aster didn't linger. On one hand, he wanted to examine the cards his father had left him. On the other, he was thinking about Sartorius. Now that his mind was clear, the light of destruction could no longer cloud his thoughts. He quickly realized the strangeness of what had occurred. Back then, during the duel with DD, that voice of Sartorius. And the voice he heard later from Sartorius. Though both had guided him, in hindsight, the voices were not the same. One was gentle. One was violent. One persuaded. The other seduced. Could it be? He recalled his own previous state. Though he was never fully controlled by the light of ruin, he did feel urges of self-destruction. So what of Sartorius, who had been under its influence since childhood, and more deeply than anyone? It was likely Sartorius had completely fractured into two minds. And he'd never noticed. He had to prepare for what came next. Aster. Just as he was leaving, deep in thought, Hikaru called out to him. He stopped and looked back. "If you're facing trouble, you don't have to face it alone," said Hikaru. He feared Aster might try to challenge Sartorius on his own and vanish without warning, and he wouldn't even know. Aster was stunned, then gradually calmed. He gave a small nod and responded to Hikaru. "Thanks for your concern, President." Then he smiled, turned, and walked away. He wasn't alone. Sartorius. His father. They had always been with him. His lack of friends was simply because he hadn't wanted to accept others. Although now, the clock of his life had begun to tick. The hands were turning forward. Even if they returned to the same point, in truth, he had already moved ahead. Seeing Aster walk away, Hikaru said nothing more. After all, Aster Phoenix was someone with a strong mind and his own decisions. After Aster left, Hikaru turned back to the members of the Society of Light. They stood emotionless, clearly brainwashed to the extreme. Silver Meteor and Princess Rose approached. Silver Meteor, hands behind his back, first congratulated Hikaru on his victory and praised his dueling. Though he, too, was brainwashed, his dueling skills remained. After watching Hikaru's duel with Aster, he realized he couldn't compare and admired them both greatly. But, his life now belonged to Lord Sartorius and to Destiny, so all he could do was admire. Then, as promised, Amaki Hikaru, this card is the gift we prepared. As Silver Meteor spoke, several members in white uniforms respectfully presented a small box to Hikaru. Inside are cards and an address we acquired from the Fusion Army. I believe you'll find them quite to your liking. Hikaru raised an eyebrow, took the box, and opened it. It was a box large enough to hold 2 rows of mooncakes, lined with white ornaments. Inside were 2 cards. One showed a sky filled with stars. Obviously coordinates to a dimension. Beneath it read, Frightfur Sanctuary. Whoa! The Frightfur dimension. Hikaru's eyes lit up. He had searched every Fusion Army base, rummaging through boxes, but never found a trace of Frightfur. Within their ranks, it was a top-secret location. In this case, the Society of Light and its guidance had been more effective. As for the other card, Hikaru's brow furrowed. D/D/D Oracle King Dark. DDD? Where had this come from? Hikaru was stunned. This card was obtained by Lord Sartorius from Leo Akaba. What? Hikaru looked up in shock, questioning Silver Meteor. Huh? That card belonged to Leo Akaba? Several onlooking students looked visibly disturbed. By now, they had come to fully trust Hikaru's purity and dedication. They no longer suspected him of being with the Fusion Army. That said, seeing a card from Leo Akaba being handed to someone else, it was hard not to feel uneasy. What was the Society of Light really up to? Meanwhile, Selena kept looking up curiously. Father's card. Just what kind of deck did he use? Hikaru stared at the dark version of St. Joan in his hand, that is, D/D/D Oracle King Dark, with a frown. How had this even come into being? Of all cards, this one shouldn't exist here. 1 year ago, Lord Sartorius met Leo Akaba in another dimension. In exchange for cards, Leo proposed an alliance between the Society of Light and the Fusion Army, Silver Meteor said, hands still behind his back. Many students hearing this grew visibly hostile toward the Society of Light. Even those rescued by them began to worry. However, Silver Meteor quickly changed tone. Lord Sartorius immediately saw through Leo Akiba's malicious intent. He was not a kind and upright teacher. Though he recommended Aster to the Fusion Army, he was guided by destiny to let Aster meet the Fusion Club's president. Hikaru bit his lip to keep from laughing aloud. What a load of nonsense. He still remembered Aster had joined the Fusion Club only because he happened to duel Cyrus, the representative of the opposing side. It was purely by chance. Hikaru hadn't seen it back then, but after talking more, he had learned the truth. Still, even if Silver Meteor was spouting lies, perhaps it was just because Sartorius told him to. He might not know the real situation at all. And actually, there was some useful information in what he said. So Aster really had been recommended by Sartorius to be the Fusion Army's commander. The Fusion Army with Aster at the helm would have been vastly different. After all, Aster was a hero favored by destiny. If Aster had been there, the blitzkrieg on Shinsun might never have happened, or not so soon, or so badly. As payment, Leo Akiba must have given Sartorius quite a bit. Cards were likely just the start. Leo's real strength was in technology. Chapter 340. After the duel ended, Hikaru first checked in with Kaibacorp personnel to confirm the surrounding conditions. After reviewing the rescue and communication requests and finding nothing amiss, he finally carved out a moment to lie on the sofa in his single dorm and ponder life. D/D/D Oracle King Dark. The card's inspiration was likely Saint Joan or Guardian Angel Joan. This version, however, was the demon variant. Could it be called Dark Joan? But that wasn't important. What mattered was that this card belonged to the D/D/D series. In other words, it was from the same series as D/D Swirl Slime, which Hikaru had obtained after dueling members of the Fusion Army. However, unlike the card he had created himself, this one had originally been given to Sartorius by Leo Akiba. That was what made it so puzzling. No matter what, even though things in this world were unfolding differently than in the original story, some elements still closely followed the source material. For example, Jaden's Supreme King Power, Aster's Fated Destiny, Jesse's Crystal Beasts, these were all events present in the original. In both the anime and manga, Aster had lost his father and inherited a unique set of hero cards from him. Similarly, the Tyler sisters also retained their distinct traits from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V. This world was a hybrid, many things deviated from the original plot, yet many others closely mirrored or even directly replicated it. However, the D/D/D deck ending up in the hands of the one person least suited to have it? That made no sense. After all, the D/D/D deck belonged to Declan Akiba. Declan was Leo Akiba's son and the leader of the Standard Dimension, who most wanted to topple Leo's Golden Empire. The whole kind father, filial son trope might be a joke for others, but Declan, determined to maintain peace across dimensions, had always harbored hostility toward his father, who had launched invasions into other dimensions, including their own home. Declan fighting Leo was the actual main storyline of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V. There was no way Declan would have handed over that card. Which is why it was such a shock for Hikaru to find a D/D/D card in Sartorius's hands. Looks like that egg-headed man had brought plenty of fine goods from his own dimension. Holding the Dark Joan card in his hand, Hikaru couldn't help but feel a bit delighted. As a standalone card, it wasn't overly powerful, but its fusion requirements were lenient, just 2 D/D monsters. And its effect converted any damage the player would take while it's on the field into life point recovery. Simple, yet practical. In this world, that's more than good enough. Hikaru rummaged through his spare cards and eventually dug out Dark Contract with the Gate and Dark Contract with the Swamp King from the bottom of the box. Previously, those cards had been unusable, but now there was finally a reason to consider them. He didn't need to use the D/D/D series right away, but one thing always led to another. After all, the archetype was compatible with Fiends and Fusion in general. After stowing the cards away, Hikaru pulled out Flame Swordsman and Dark Flare Knight. Well, now they were Ultimate Flame Swordsman and Mirage Swordsman. Ha ha ha. My lord, how did I do today? Though it asked the question, it was already laughing gleefully. Quiet, can't you see our lord is thinking? No sooner were the cards taken out than Flame Swordsman began bragging, only for Dark Flare Knight to interject. Hikaru couldn't help but chuckle. These two had been his longest-standing companion spirits. Over time, they'd absorbed the power of super polymerization, and later the nourishment of the Philosopher's Stone, slowly gathering the energy required for evolution. Considering all that, one problem had always plagued Hikaru. Why couldn't they evolve? Eventually, it was Tiara who pointed to Dark Flare Knight and said he didn't want to evolve into anything other than a fusion monster. That mindset was clearly narrow. Dark Flare Knight had followed Hikaru long enough to know that he never cared about what type of monster a card was, what mattered was the process of fusion. Still, since Dark Flare Knight himself was a fusion monster, he simply preferred that identity. But after Tiara exposed this, he could no longer pretend otherwise and finally took steps toward a new form. Flame Swordsman, on the other hand, was different. Whereas Dark Flare Knight could evolve but didn't want to, Flame Swordsman wanted to evolve but couldn't. Despite having gathered enough energy, by Tiara's estimation, he should have been able to evolve, it just wouldn't happen. Hikaru once theorized that Flame Swordsman first needed to create Fighting Flame Dragon in order to evolve. Later, while researching Armityle the Chaos Phantasm, another idea occurred to him. Maybe that wasn't it. Maybe what Flame Swordsman lacked was the ability to pulverize himself and then refine and recycle the resulting material. Just like how Hikaru hoped to pulverize Armityle to extract the hex-sealed fusion from its essence, Flame Swordsman lacked the skill to break down his power into components. He simply couldn't do it. After all, Flame Swordsman knew nothing about alchemy or transformation. For someone like Hikaru, who specialized in using super polymerization for purification and sublimation, this was incredibly difficult. Compared to purification and sublimation, he still had a long way to go in mastering pulverization and reconstitution. Then, not long ago, a card appeared and disrupted Hikaru's research entirely. Alistair the Invoker. This card didn't just elevate Hikaru's deck by a full tier. More importantly, with Alistair, Hikaru could use the Emerald Book to attempt feats he hadn't been able to before. Certain pages that required verification could now be directly read. After revisiting his research and applying these insights, Hikaru successfully extracted a portion of Flame Swordsman's weapon that could serve as Fighting Flame Dragon as fusion material. With super polymerization completing the purification, Hikaru finally combined it with his long-honed alchemical techniques to sublimate Ultimate Flame Swordsman. It looked complicated, but the actual execution wasn't all that hard. Still, without Alistair and the Emerald Book, Hikaru definitely couldn't have pulled it off. Thanks to this experiment, he had finally gained some understanding of the alchemy needed to extract monsters from fusion monsters. Unfortunately, though he now had a foothold, Hikaru still required super polymerization to help. Extracting a low-level monster from Armityle was still far beyond reach. A long road lies ahead. Still, at least now he had direction. With continued research and experimentation, he could advance down this path. Having sorted out these thoughts, Hikaru turned to look out the window. Outside stood that pristine white building. Sartorius. Hikaru took a deep breath. Originally, he had thought that Sartorius, Destiny, Heroes, those were problems meant for Jaden and Aster, the two heroes whose fates were entwined. But things were different now. He thought of the classmates who had been brainwashed into joining the Society of Light and fell into a long silence. It was true that during the Dark World attack, he had saved many people. Even so, the threat couldn't be ignored any longer. He couldn't let Sartorius act unchecked any further. That wraps up this part of What If Fusion Deck User in a Different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.